A faithful friend is a sturdy shelter. He that has found one has found a treasure. There is nothing so precious as a faithful friend, and no scales can measure his excellence. A faithful friend is an elixir of life, and those who fear the Lord will find him. Whoever fears the Lord directs his friendship aright, for as he is, so is his neighbor also.
Hi there, I'm Simon Rafe.
And I'm Michael Voris, and welcome to Moral Compass.
Friendship, it's one of the greatest gifts of life. Indeed, in the beginning, we were created by God for friendship. It's not good that the man should be alone, God said. We all have the desire for the faithful love of true friendship, and in it, well, we flourish. Now, here we're speaking of friendship in the broad sense. It includes close relationships between schoolmates, co-workers, neighbors, siblings, cousins, friends and their parents or grandparents, aunts and uncles, between spouses, and between peers who simply choose to share their lives and interests. Despite the various differences of such relationships, all of them fulfill the basic criteria of friendship.
We speak of friendship in a broad sense, but not overly broad. These are the relationships with some degree of intimacy, of love, the ones that make life worth living, that give it meaning. Interestingly, such friendship can be important. It can be an important theme to turn to when considering the morality of homosexuality. Why is this the case? Those who promote it often do so in the name of love, of companionship, of friendship in the sense of which we speak of it here. All of us need these friendships, but friendships come in many forms, and they need not be sexual to be fulfilling.
In fact, there's a natural purpose of sexuality, and this purpose is what gives sexual relationships their particular form. To separate this purpose, morally speaking, from sexuality is to strip it of its power and to be part of a good and virtuous friendship. Homosexuality, like many other moral topics, can of course be analysed from various angles, but in this episode of Moral Compass, we hope to shed light on it primarily by considering the true meaning of true friendship. Let's pause and reason together.
Homosexuality has taken a great variety of forms through the centuries and in different cultures. Its psychological genesis remains largely unexplained. Sacred scripture presents homosexual acts as acts of grave depravity. The number of men and women who have deep-seated homosexual tendencies is not negligible. This inclination, which is objectively disordered, constitutes for most of them a trial. They must be accepted with respect, compassion, and sensitivity. Every sign of unjust discrimination in their regard should be avoided. These persons are called to fulfill God's will in their lives, and if they are Christians, to unite to the sacrifice of the Lord's cross the difficulties they might encounter from their condition.
These citations from the Catechism of the Catholic Church express the Church's conviction both that homosexual acts are sinful and that homosexuals ought to be loved and respected like everyone else. This is because, like every other human being, the person with same-sex attraction is called to love and to be loved. Only in authentic love and in the God of love can they and anyone else find true happiness. Nevertheless, this is the strange thing. In the very pursuit of love, homosexuals often find themselves unhappy. And yet, when you think about it, this isn't really that strange. For not only homosexuals, but a great many people of all walks of life find that the search for love, though often bringing excitement, can produce frustration instead of happiness. Though there are pleasures, the deep and lasting joy that is supposed to come does not come. Somewhere along the line, the process gets thwarted. Whether we're talking about a homosexual person or a straight one, the process that is thwarted is the process of love, of friendship. Something about how we pursue our relationships is destructive of those relationships. If this is the case, then knowing something about the nature of love, the nature of friendship, well, that can help us direct our relationships better. Whatever may be the developmental psychological origins of same-sex attraction, the homosexual no less than the heterosexual must learn to direct his relationships aright. In Christian terms, both must strive to grow in charity, chastity, and holiness.
Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their toil. For if they fall, one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him who is alone, when he falls and has not another to lift him up. Again, if two lie together, they are warm. But how can one be warm alone? And though a man might prevail against one who is alone, two will withstand him. A threefold cord is not quickly broken.
Friends strengthen one another. What one can do well, two or more can do better. And the joy of accomplishment is usually greater when it is shared, when it's a shared accomplishment, shared among friends. This leads us to consider the nature of friendship. So, what is friendship? There are, of course, different kinds. Many people whom we may call friends, we associate with primarily because of their usefulness to us, as in business relationships, for example, or because they give us pleasure, as with many people who we might spend time with, especially in a group, but don't connect with on a deeper level. Those aren't really friendships the way we're talking about it. They're acquaintances and they're friendly, but they're not friendships. There's nothing necessarily wrong with these relationships. Acquaintances of these kinds can be good if they don't pretend to be something that they're not, and if they're characterized by a basic respect, kindness, and goodwill. You can't be friends with everyone. You might say that there are friendships, that they're friendships sort of in potential. However, there are also bad friends. We have to be careful of this. Though we may feel a measure of joy even in a bad friendship, there is something fundamentally contradictory and false about a friend who takes advantage of us, treats us poorly, or who encourages us to do evil. If friendship amplifies the joy of effort and accomplishment, wouldn't it also be true that when friends do wrong together, the wrong is amplified, and ultimately their misery in that wrong will be greater, and it will also be shared? Scriptures and sacred tradition exalt the deeper kinds of friendship when they are virtuous as great gifts from God. Such friendships have certain particular characteristics. A friend desires not just his own good, but the good of the other, of his friend. He doesn't associate with him just for his usefulness or pleasantness. He desires his friend's true good. It actually becomes an object for him in his life. In fact, for a friend, my good and your good are to some degree united, so that they become a common good between us. For this reason, since it shares a common good, true friendship is mutual. It's not one-sided, and is built on communication. For friends appreciate one another and want to know more about each other, to some degree making the concerns and interests of their friend their true concerns, their own concerns and interests. And in all this, it involves some degree of sharing life with one another. Finally, as they share their lives together and pursue their common good, friends do so through joint activity. So, for example, friends may engage in the joint activity of pursuing scientific knowledge together, for example, or philosophy, or maybe even business, the appreciation of making of art, for example, or the exercising of a trade, the goal of good parenting. Greater still, they may make a common pursuit of virtue and seek God. Deeper friendships involve greater communication and sharing of life, so that friends find their common good in more than one activity, and certainly in the more important ones. Now, notice here that the common good is both the friendship itself and the goods or goals that they pursue together. Friends bond through the common pursuit of good things. So, for example, imagine a pair of friends, let's call them Peter and Paul. By communicating with one another and by doing things together, Peter and Paul share friendship as a common good between them, through conversation about all kinds of things, like maybe good books, or through sharing tasty, nutritious meals that they can share together, through working on cars together, or watching sports together. They turn the good found in doing those things into a common good. That is, they turn them into an object of the friendship. Now, alternatively, they might build furniture together instead of working on cars. They might converse about good movies instead of about good books. And they can certainly share tasty desserts more than nutritious meals, especially my friends.
Now, let's imagine that Peter is a bad friend. Perhaps Peter cares only about himself. Ostensibly, he's Paul's friend, but he actually takes advantage of him for his money. In this case, Peter, for his part, is not a true friend. He does not include Paul's a good together with his own. The good he pursues in this relationship is not a common good, but his own private one. Or perhaps Peter is not a false friend in this sense. He does not care, he does not use Paul, but cares about him. But instead, Peter encourages Paul to steal cable, or cheat on his taxes, or drink excessively. Though in this case, Peter does in fact intend to include Paul's good together with his own, he is mistaken about what that good can be. Or maybe each of them encourage and support each other in doing wrong. They may care for one another and share many good things, but in regard to the immoral things they do together, they are together mistaken about what their common good can be, and so, in that sense, are bad friends. Their relationship is not virtuous. As we've said, homosexuals, like everyone else, desire love and strive to find fulfilling friendships. Many of them, like everyone else, may have bad friendships, using one another for pleasure or advantage. On the other hand, many of them have good and fulfilling friendships, desiring and pursuing the good of the other as a common good. But the question is this: is homosexual activity virtuous, or is it only mistakenly believed to be good? The question must come down to this one. It cannot be about the freedom to love another person, to seek a fulfilling relationship, because everyone already agrees that friendship is good. To cite the freedom to love simply begs the question.
So to answer the question, let's first of all call the obvious fact that not all sexual activity is virtuous. Not all of it is compatible with true friendship. Certainly, forms where there is no mutual adult consent are not virtuous, rape, child abuse, etc., those sorts of things. But at the very least, forms of sexual activity where there is consent but no friendship of the whole of life are also not virtuous. Various forms of fornication, prostitution, one-night stands, casual sex, in varying ways and degrees, harm friendship through wrongfully bringing sexual activity into it. In all of these cases, relationships of acquaintance or friendship are inappropriately sexualized. Why? What is it about sex that makes it inappropriate in some friendships and appropriate in others?
Despite how widespread and frequent promiscuity and casual sex are, it shouldn't come as a surprise to say that sex is inherently and deeply meaningful. It speaks a profound language of love. The Catholic view is that it witnesses to a distinct kind of friendship with a special common good. This particular kind of friendship is founded upon the natural fact of sexual difference and complementarity.
Clearly, if despite not being the natural parents, two men or two women raise adopted children to the best of their ability, then of course they do those children in society a service. But that fact wouldn't have any significant positive connection with their sexual relationship if they have one.
For a man and a woman, the sexual act is an activity which allows them to pursue parenthood as a common good, which, together with their love for one another and their psychological and emotional complementarity, serve that good further, being the basis for a balanced and loving home environment that children need. Sexual difference serves both the couple and their children, and in turn, it serves society at large by providing it with new citizens. For men and women, sex speaks a special love language, the language of marital friendship, an exclusive and intimate sharing of the whole of life that blossoms into service. Sex, as an activity that pursues the good of the family, naturally transcends itself in service to others, and all this makes marital friendship the precise kind of friendship that it is. Now, it's immediately clear, of course, that gay couples cannot have this particular kind of friendship because they cannot pursue the common good of family through sexual activity.
And also, research seems to confirm the common sense idea that, ideally, a developing child should be raised by a biological mother and father who love one another and him or her.
At the most, the best good they pursue it is a private good of their own.
Children also need the good example of virtue. But if sex speaks the language of total self-giving, of a friendship of the whole of life that goes beyond itself in the service of procreation, then at the very least it resists any hedonistic expression. There is a tension, a contradiction in sexual activity which does not strive to transcend itself. If it doesn't serve a worthy goal bigger than itself, well, sex is doomed to hover in the realm of just mere passion and pleasure. And in that case, it's not actually for the good, it's not virtuous. But some will object, hey, a gay couple can adopt children and in that way serve children in the larger society.
Another objection is that maybe there are different kinds of friendships. Then the difference between same-sex and opposite-sex unions might just mean that they pursue a different kind of common good. Now, this kind of argument is it's the best one out there. Why can't, for some people, sex just be a way to express a love of total self-giving and sharing the whole of life through joint pleasure and the feeling of intimacy? The problem with this is twofold. Once you ask that question, then it's hard to find a good reason to not ask why sex for some people and in some situations can't just be a way to pursue a cheap thrill. It's no surprise that the social acceptance of gay unions has been coming right behind social acceptance of promiscuity and casual sex, and that these came right behind the acceptance of contraception. The movement for gay marriage did not begin and will not end with just gay marriage. Because sex is so pleasurable, we are constantly tempted to compromise its integrity and our integrity, and the integrity of our friendships in the process. The second problem is this. Even if a couple intends to express self-giving love, there would still be all that tension and contradiction of a frustrated body language, in a loss of integrity, of a love that wants to transcend itself, but which cannot get past the realm of private pleasure.
But what if your argument is true? Then the relations of infertile and elderly couples wouldn't be virtuous either because, well, they can't conceive children. Well, this is a good argument also, but it fails because in the relations of infertile and elderly couples, what they do, the activity they engage in, is still directed towards procreation. Their love still strives to transcend itself in procreation, but as far as the couple knows, and through no fault of their own, it can't succeed in doing so. By rough analogy, think of a set of friends who pursue the goal of competing in the Olympics together. They may have very strong reason to believe that they don't have the natural athletic gifts to achieve their goal, but their training regimen is the actual regimen they would need to undertake to pursue their goal. Furthermore, an elderly or infertile couple, by engaging sexual relations that remain procreative in type, bear witness to themselves and society that procreation and family is important. For their part, they have done nothing to deny it in themselves and in others. In that way, they serve the health of society by serving a marriage culture and promoting the natural importance of sexual identity. Though they cannot be natural parents unless their condition of infertility changes, if they adopt, they can at least provide children with both a mother and a father who love them and one another. In the same way, by pursuing Olympic competition, a set of friends might promote the Olympics.
Friends strengthen one another. What one can do well, two or more can do better, and the joy of accomplishment is usually greater when it is a shared accomplishment.
So at the end of the day, we don't all need to procreate, but we all need fulfilling friendships. But friendships don't need to be sexual to be fulfilling. On the contrary, sexual desire is naturally selfish and needy. It's only through being directed to its further natural goal in a virtuous marriage that it can hope to mature into part of a selfless friendship. But homosexuals and others should pursue fulfilling friendships without inappropriately sexualizing them. They should bond with people, sharing their lives with them, especially through the more worthy pursuits that serve others. And as Catholics, we should pursue virtuous same-sex friendships with those who have same-sex attractions. We're all children of God, the opposite sex attracted and the same-sex attracted. In this way, we can do more than bear witness to the holiness of marriage. We can also help others lead a moral and fulfilling life. I'm Michael Voris.
And I'm Simon Rafe, and this has been Moral Compass. you.